What is hibernation? Do ants really need to hibernate? What is the best way to hibernate my ants? If any of these questions are wandering in your mind right now, this is the perfect video for you. Let's jump right into it. Hi guys, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to the BRUMA channel. In this video we're gonna talk about one of the most basic and important aspects of ant keeping, hibernation. What is it? Why do ants need hibernation? Should I hibernate my ants? These are just some of the questions that we're gonna answer in this video. So grab a cup of your favorite drink and enjoy the guide. Let's get started. What is hibernation? Let's start from the basics. So, what exactly is this strange thing called hibernation? The scientific literature defines hibernation as a state of minimal activity and metabolic depression, undergone by some animal species. Hibernation is a seasonal heterothermy characterized by low body temperature, slow breathing, heart rate, and low metabolic rate. It more commonly occurs during winter months. I think this definition perfectly summarizes the concept. Well, at least if you understood more than half of the words in it. To keep it simple, hibernation is nothing but a biological phase in which the animal's metabolism slows down drastically, maintaining active only the function needed to stay alive. In 90% of the species, as you probably already know, hibernation typically occurs during the winter months. The list of species that go into hibernation is incredibly long and includes animals like bears, primates, mice, squirrels, some species of birds, and, as you can imagine, ants. Now that we know what we're referring to with the term hibernation, let's discuss the reason behind this important biological phase. Why do ants hibernate? Okay, now you may be wondering, but why do ants hibernate? Why they don't just continue with their life all year long? Well, these are all very interesting questions, to which there are lots of different answers. The two main reasons that cause this weird sleepy phase are the environment and the biological structure of the animal. Let's face it, life in winter is a lot harder than in any other season. The cool temperature, the harsh weather, and the long nights make basic activities like searching for food and water extremely difficult tasks. And if you also add the snow, the game becomes almost unplayable. That's one of the main factors that encourage an animal to pause for the winter months and wait for the spring of the next year to resume its usual life. But there's also another very important aspect to consider: the biology of ants. As you may already know, ants are cold-blooded animals. This means that their body is now capable of self-heating, which causes their metabolism to be immensely influenced by the external climate. During the winter months, the average daily ambient temperature decreases massively, forcing the metabolism of the ants to slow with it. Think about it. In most parts of the world, temperature easily reaches sub-zero values. How can a cold-blooded animal live in an environment like that? Their blood will freeze instantly. For this reason, ants have no choice. They need to find a safe and comfortable place to pass the winter months, maybe in the ground where the temperature is a bit higher, and patiently wait for the climate to get better. In this calm period, the colony and the queen can finally take some rest and recharge their batteries after a long year of work. The queen stops laying eggs, and the development of the various stages of the brood comes to a halt, remaining on pause until the start of the next season. So, we now know what hibernation is, and why ants need this important resting phase. But one question might be popping into your mind right now. What if I don't hibernate my ants? After all, my house is heated, and the temperature does not drop to extremely low levels like in the wild. Let's talk about it. Do ants really need hibernation? Well, That's a very interesting and difficult question to answer. In the end, it all comes down to what we mean by need. Scientists, myrmecologists, and innkeepers from all over the world have done plenty of experiments regarding this very issue, and the results point to very similar conclusions. They found out that for the majority of ant species, hibernation is not really an essential step in the life of an ant colony. This means that in the majority of cases, the queen and the colony can survive even if deprived of this low temperature period. One interesting fact to notice is that, even if the temperature remains the same, the queen tends to slow down the production of the eggs, and the workers start to go out foraging a lot less often. It is almost like the ants have an internal clock. Having said that, there are some important disadvantages to skipping this important phase. Thanks to some tests, myrmecologists have found out that the lifespan of the queen, and with that, the lifespan of the entire colony, reduces drastically for every year passed without a proper hibernation. If you think about it, this actually makes some sense. Just imagine for a moment that a queen has a fixed amount of, let's call it, life energy. If we use this life energy for only 9 months a year, we can undoubtedly live much longer than if we use the same energy throughout the entirety of the year. I know, this is probably a way too simple explanation for such a complex concept like hibernation, but I think it makes it a lot easier to understand the reasons behind the drop in the lifespan of the queen. At this point of the video, a lot of you are probably starting to wonder, but BRUMA, I know some species of ants that do not need to hibernate. How about those? Well, that's right. Not every species of ant takes this low activity break during the year. Lots of species, especially those from the hottest exotic regions of the world, are active all year long and don't need to undergo this peculiar biological phase. They just slow down a bit their activities and their metabolism, but do not officially enter a proper hibernation phase. These particular species are able to remain active all year long thanks to the different weather characteristics of the region in which they live, a much warmer weather and a much higher chance of finding food. Now it's finally time to talk about something more practical. Let's jump to the next chapter. How do I hibernate my ants? When the winter months are getting closer and the temperatures are getting lower, it's finally time to think about hibernating our beloved ant colonies. To do so, you have basically two main options to choose from. The first and easiest way you have to put your queens and ant colonies into hibernation is to place them in a room that tends to replicate the outside temperature. With this very basic but clever solution, you don't have to worry too much about trying to create the best possible hibernation environment for your colonies, as the humidity and temperature already perfectly replicate their natural environment. One great place you can use for this scope is your garage. Garages are not usually artificially heated, and most of the time are also physically detached from the main living area of the house. Using this place as your hibernation zone offers you two great advantages: the low and constant external temperature, and a safe, calm place where your colony can peacefully rest with minimal disturbance. Now, let's talk about the second option. If you don't have an isolated and cool garage, or if you simply don't like the idea of leaving your ants at the mercy of the outside climate, a normal fridge is probably the way to go. You can set the temperature of the fridge to the specific hibernation temperature of your ant species. Place the colony inside, sit back, and wait patiently until the flowers start to appear again and the snow starts to melt away. Nothing easier. No need to worry if the outside temperature gets too low or too high. This is an extremely easy but effective way to keep our beloved ant colonies in hibernation, don't you think? Perfect. Now that we know how to hibernate our ants, let's discuss a bit about the timing. When do I need to put my ants into hibernation? One of the first things you have to do after finding or buying a queen ant is to go online and do some research about her. You need to find out the species, her eating habits, the right temperature, the optimal level of humidity, and, of course, if and when she hibernates. Once you have this information, you can plan the hibernation phase accordingly, using one of the two methods we've seen before. Remember, make sure to follow their natural cycle. If done properly, you can successfully maximize the lifespan of the queen, and with that, the lifespan of your personal little ant empire. Fantastic! Now we know everything we need to perfectly hibernate our beloved pet ants. If you love the magical world of ant keeping, you will definitely like this other video. In this one, I update you on two of my favorite ant colonies, my Chromatogastes scutellaris and my Mestur barbarus colonies. Thank you for watching, and see you soon in another video.